it's so interesting, man, because it's like I can hear so much of my own inner sadness through some of the stuff that he writes. Like I Just Wasn't Made for These Times is a perfect example of that. Maybe Caroline No as well, like these huge concepts which of the time would have been maybe even controversial. I mean, it's cited, Pet Sounds is cited as like one of the first emo albums, I think, if you go on like the emo music wiki, which is awesome because I grew up with emo music, and again, like the lyrics, the sentiment, the feeling of those was really how I was feeling at the time. And yet in my 20s I'm listening to someone else in their 20s but in the 60s talk about similar kind of things, and it's just so like it reminds me it's so universal, I think, and like it sort of doesn't matter when you live, you know, these things are just kind of here to stay whether we want them to or not. But what Brian's outlet was clearly music, and so for me it's just so resonant because it's one of the few ways that I feel that I can connect with myself really deeply is lyric writing, songwriting, specifically. There's not many other things that really where I can do that with. So yeah, hugely important to recognize that. And it's interesting because you think of people call Brian Wilson a genius, and I don't dispute that at all, but like in a really real sense he was just a depressed kid who didn't know what he was doing with his life, making music, and that music just happens to be some of the best music I think of all time. But it's weird that that part of him doesn't get as much attention as maybe some of the other parts of him. A bit like with Keith Moon, it's like Keith Moon was a phenomenal drummer first and foremost, and a kind of a lunatic second, and yet the lunacy is like more what we know about him instead of yeah, in my opinion.
What was going to be my next question? It was going to be, I was just going to mention the biopic about Brian Wilson, which kind of related to what you were saying. I think it's called Love and Mercy.
Love and Mercy,
which is a beautiful song.
Yeah.
The version that is played at the end, I listen to it every so often because it's just one of the most beautiful songs I know. But yeah, I think that film I think was really good because it did adequately and sensitively, respectfully and deeply kind of touch on both his sort of musical skill and, you know, quote unquote genius,
100%.
and also his sort of mental struggles.
Yeah.
And it balanced them, I think, so beautifully.
Agreed. Love and Mercy, I think I've watched it twice, and both times it's like made me cry, it's made me laugh. It's just amazing. And yeah, totally, like I love the idea of them exploring him at the time of making these songs, him way after the fact, and meeting his wife and stuff. Yeah, it's just like there's so much to his story. I love the way that they've done that, and like you get to see later Brian and be like almost wonder about the period of time between those two characters and be like, wow, like what happened there. But I guess you kind of piece it together yourself. But yeah, I totally agree. I think that's one of the things that's really paid respect to his struggle with that, and maybe even like highlighted the lack of awareness around those sort of things when he was struggling through them.